Yeah, I am, of course, talking about the Trump tariff drama, which has been amped up to 11. When you thought that it was amped up to 11 already last week on Liberation Day, well, you were wrong. This week, it's been amped up even more. So basically, what happened was uh, Trump is just doing the biggest tariffs on China that has ever been implemented by the United States in its entire history. So at first, it was like 34% plus an additional 20% that was implemented earlier. But then, China was like, we're never going to back down. We're never going to cater to Trump's demands. And then Trump's like, okay, well, if you're not going to do a deal with me, I'm going to ratchet up the pressure even more. So he jacked it up to 125% tariffs. And actually, even that I found out later was incorrect because that 125 didn't include the original 20% that he did. So it's actually 145% tariffs on China that's in effect now. And basically, uh, that just sent the stock market dumping like crazy. And also, we'll talk about the bond market later, but it's actually we don't know what's exactly going on with the bond market. People are saying that China's dumping treasuries in response, in retaliation. Some people say it's that maybe somebody blew up in Japan, which Japan holds a lot of U.S. Treasury bonds. We can talk about that later, but Treasury bond yields have skyrocketed as well. So originally, I know like there were people that were saying, and we on this show suggested that topic either of we suggested that topic as well, that the idea that Trump is trying to dump the stock market on purpose so that he can force money into the bond market to refinance the bonds at a lower yield. Well, if that's the case, then it's not really working because the yields are skyrocketing as well at the same time as the stocks dumping. So it's a tough situation for sure for any type of investor. Even if you're a bond investor, if you're holding long-term bonds thinking, oh, I'm hedged, I'm safe. Well, no, you're not because the bonds have dumped as well. So that's kind of what's going on. But yesterday, Wednesday, we did get some relief in the form of Trump saying that okay, the 125, which is actually 145% tariffs, they're going to be put on China, but the other tariffs that are announced on other countries on Liberation Day, those are actually going to be paused for 90 days. And during the 90 days, there will be discussions, there will be deals, hopefully. So, yeah, there's still the 10% baseline tariffs, though. That's still in effect for everyone. But it's just the extra tariffs that the chart that he showed on Liberation Day, those are going to be paused for 90 days. So that's basically what's been going on. And the stock market kind of just completely rocketed on the news that there's going to be a 90-day pause. But today we actually had a really red day again. So it's like, it came back up, it came back down, and it's just the stock market has been a complete roller coaster. And if you're swing trading, if you can time it right, it's been really profitable. Before like anybody who's even remotely a medium to long-term holder, these kind of gyrations are really uncomfortable, I would say. But what are you going to do, right? So this kind of trade war thing with China is now in kind of the full-blown stage, and I doubt it can get that much worse from here. That's kind of maybe the silver lining. The good news is that like it's already at 145% tariffs, right? So what's the if he jacks it up to like 200% or 400%, like what's the difference at this point? At some point, the trade is just going to stop, and it doesn't matter if it's 145 versus 1,000%, right? Like it just like there's just going to be no trades because like it's just unprofitable to sell anything at that point. So what is kind of the idea that Trump is pushing, right? Because a lot of people like opinions on Trump's strategy or lack thereof is very divided on online on X and in the greater kind of social sphere. The people who already didn't like Trump before, they're of course going to say that, oh, Trump is just being dumb, like he's self-inflicting a wound, he's crashing the entire US economy unnecessarily, right? And I get why somebody would think that and why they would approach it that way. But then you hear the pro-Trump people that are saying, no, no, this is all like part of the plan. This is 4D chess. This is just like, Trump is trying to engineer something, right? And the evidence for that is, I guess, by doing a 90-day pause on everyone besides China, like he's trying to put the pressure on US allies to kind of pull them into a grand coalition against China, right? And that's kind of the idea that maybe what Trump is pushing for. But it's at this point, it's like, who knows, right? And we'll get you guys' opinions to chime in later. I just found this kind of AI generated meme kind of funny that was posted by Patrick Bet David, who granted is, I guess he's on the pro-Trump side, but yeah, it's just like, China's got the art of war and Trump's got the art of the deal. And they're each reading each other's kind of work, I guess, the famous uh, instruction manual on how to fight a war, how to fight a trade war from each country. And then, like, they both look kind of confused, right? So, like, I'm sure at this point, Xi Jinping is trying to understand the art of the deal, and Trump is trying to understand the art of war. So that's kind of the situation that we're in right now. And yeah, another thing that happened yesterday was actually before the announcement of the 90-day pause, which caused the markets to skyrocket. Trump actually went on Truth Social and he was like, "This is a great time to buy." And then for everyone who believed him and just bought whenever he's said you should buy, then you would have been rewarded quite immediately, because like this tweet came out like 1 or 2 hours before he tweeted the 90-day pause. So if you just like acted on this news and you bought, like, I don't know, some like 0 day expiry call options or something like, super leveraged like that, then you would have made a lot of money. So I guess lesson learned. Next time when the president of the United States tips you off to insider information, you should act on it. You can make a lot of money. I responded to this, and I guess like I was kind of trying to be snarky and make a joke, but I'm actually being somewhat semi-serious here. Where, and back in 2024, Trump was campaigning to be president again, and on the campaign trail, he kept on saying, "I'm going to use tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. This is my favorite word in the entire dictionary. I'm going to use tariffs in a massive way." The likes of which you've never seen. And then people didn't really believe him. And I guess like I could throw myself in that camp too, where I was like, okay, we saw what Trump during his first term did with tariffs. I just thought that it was going to be a continuation of that. It was going to be similar to that. I did not anticipate that Trump was going to use tariffs in this big way that he did. But in fact, if you actually like listened to Trump and took what he said at face value, you would have known that he was being completely serious, that he was trying to like leverage tariffs in a massive way. And now everybody believes him because he actually did it. And then now he's saying, listen, we're going to have a golden age. It's a great time to buy. Basically, I would guess he's calling the bottom, right? Or if he's not calling the bottom, he's calling like right now to be a place that's close to the bottom, because I would assume that if he says this is a great time to buy, and then the stock market just continuously crashes for another 20% in another 6 months, then it'll look really bad on him. So yeah, he's saying that now's a great time to buy. Do we believe him is the question. And yeah, I don't know. I do feel like this is probably going to take a little bit of time to kind of unfold, though. But I am seeing some signs that these tariffs are somewhat working to maybe potentially move China or other countries towards making a deal, because just earlier today, Trump said that China actually does want to make a deal. They're in the process of figuring out, there's going to be negotiation, there's going to be talks, right? And I just thought I included this graphic of what happened yesterday. It's like what's going on in there, and it's all green, right? Hopefully, we can have a few more of those days. Unfortunately, it only lasted for one day, and then today the market dumped again. But what are you going to do, right? So let me take a pause here, not a 90-day pause, but maybe just a 9-minute pause, as you guys will be given an opportunity to chime in on this tariff situation, on everything we've talked about. And there's actually is a part 2 to this story where we'll present two sides of an argument as to whether this is like a master plan, or if Trump actually knows what he's doing, or if he's just an idiot and he's being reckless. So save your deep analysis for part 2, but I just kind of want to get your initial reactions to the events that have unfolded over the past week or so. The 145% tariffs on China, the 90-day pause on every other country besides China, and do you think that negotiations are going to happen? What do you think of my comment of Trump saying that this is a great time to buy? Should we believe him? What are your thoughts on the things that we just talked about?
Trump has been doing a fantastic job of creating volatility in the market. I have never seen someone single-handedly shake up the snow globe quite so aggressively. Not even like COVID or the financial crisis seems to have had one person have this much impact on everything. So I'd say that this is definitely a kind of unique scenario that we've had kicking in with Trump basically picking a fight with China. He kind of picked a fight with the whole world, but really I think we can all kind of see at this point, it seems like the primary target is China to duke it out with, rather than the whole world. He was looking to basically shake the snow globe and convince everyone that a 10% tariff is perfectly acceptable and that we should actually celebrate that fact. And at the same time, declare a hardcore trade war on China so that he can renegotiate that whole trade dynamic, the whole dynamic in general. Like, I think he's looking to check China's rise to power. And I think this is kind of how he's going about doing it for now. So I think it's not great for the financial market. It's not great for business in general, just because like business likes certainty. Nothing about this situation is certain. So companies aren't going to love this. Businesses aren't going to love this. People aren't going to love this, because you're basically just shaking it all up. So is Trump and Xi Jinping going to come together and become, better, more friendly, get things together, get things back aligned more so? Or is this just going to be the ongoing adversarial relationship that it seems to be building out to be? I'm not surprised that Trump canceled the tariffs, or canceled them, delayed them for 90 days. That does seem to be exactly how his playbook, shapes up. He sets on outrageous tariffs. Everyone is like, oh my God, this is terrible. Everything is horrible. The whole world is on fire. And then he's just like, just kidding. I'll just walk that back. And maybe you'll accept a 10% tax now, and we'll pretend like the 90% tariffs didn't happen. At 145% tariffs on China, that is a significant amount. Now the problem is, again, that China doesn't actually need the US 100%. Like the China is trading with a lot of other countries. China has the capacity to trade with other countries. And while other countries don't really want to trade with China as much as they want to trade with the US, if the US starts acting a little bit too chaotic, they may choose to work with countries such as China. And China itself is much more self-sufficient than the majority of other countries in the world. So they have the capacity to, not really rely on the U.S. the way that other countries have this reliance on the U.S. goods and have a significant amount of trade with them. So we'll kind of have to see how this plays out. I think in the long run, we're going to be in for an interesting scenario. I don't know if this was the perfect time to buy, because again, I'm not convinced that Trump isn't done shaking the snow globe. If that makes sense, I wouldn't be that surprised if he keeps going. But if you bought then and made some money, I mean, that's nice for sure. But again, I just, the markets are so they don't know what to make of this whole scenario. So it's very much a situation where volatility is going to reign supreme. And I don't think Trump's intention was to raise the bond rates either. I think that was maybe a unexpected side effect, or maybe it was expected, but it was an undesirable side effect, but a necessary one from his perspective. Yeah, I think that kind of gives just. I gave too much analysis, but wait, we can talk more in the next part.
The way I've been approaching this, just as a market actor, like as a capital allocator, and similarly as if you're actually involved in in the real economy, world trade, is not to worry too much about the prevailing narrative around Trump launching 25% tariffs on average across the world, because it's just not feasible. I've always kind of there's a part of me that always kind of saw the 10% reciprocal tariff across the board as a new tax, and Trump kind of finding a way of kind of using drama to justify a new VAT tax on the American public. In this case, the VAT tax would only impact imports, but I could see this being expanded because America does need revenue, and in order to refinance their debt. So a 10% tax on imports would produce somewhere around $300 to $400 billion in new revenue. So I could see this being a very useful tool in America refinancing $9 trillion of debt that's due this year. And I think it's also important to factor that nobody's talking about it, that if the United States actually went ahead with this process of refinancing the debt and allowing the market to set the price, that would really cause problems in the stock market because it would suck up a lot of capital, which is kind of where we kind of really need Jerome Powell to get on board and help out with the bond markets. Now, I'm actually arguing something I generally argue against, is that the Federal Reserve should not be intervening in the market as much as they do. But for some reason, I've decided I support the Federal Reserve's helping the Treasury refinance debt. I don't know. I'm just I guess we're all Keynesians when shit really hits the fan. But in the United States debt situation, $36 trillion of debt is not a good situation. So I really do believe that a component of this is that Trump is trying to create drama to try to kind of normalize the idea that there might be a 10% tax on all products sold in the United States, especially imports. In terms of is Trump trying to lower rates, and is he trying to get a discount on the yields? Yeah, I think he is. I think he said it many times. I think the Senate kind of said it in a few interviews. I don't think he intended on having bonds kind of blow up in his face last night and have bond yields start to go up to 4.5%. But I do believe that Dissent, being a seasoned like hedge fund trader, understands the bond market. I don't think he's surprised that this outcome occurred. I think that I think that Trump always knew that they were going to stress test the markets. Sorry, I'm not going to give too much credit to Trump, but I think that Dissent always knew that this was going to stress test the bond market because he's a seasoned expert in macro trading. So I think that it was always within their it was always within the realm of possibility that they were going to blow up the bond market. I think they knew that was a possible outcome, and I think that they always knew that that would be the moment where they probably change gears and drop the tariffs on Europe into this 90-day thing. I think that Trump outflanked China pretty well. I think the art of the deal actually kind of worked out in this manner because what Trump did is he got the. I mean, Trump's I've said this last week, but Trump's entire strategy, the art of the deal strategy, is always provocation and trying to get his opponents off balance. So I think that he did get everybody off balance. He kind of got Europe. He kind of sized up his allies and got them in line and basically told them that he's making a move and that they better not get in America's way. And there's been a lot of political commentary that's come out in the last day, and it said that Trump folded, he caved. I don't think that this should be considered a cave, considering that Europe and Japan and South Korea and all these big market countries have come out and publicly said they're willing to negotiate a no tariff trade deal with the United States. It's a pretty significant deal, so I don't think we should be taking that much credit away from Trump just for politics reasons. Obviously, me and Andy are going to be morally biased on this thing, but the fact that Trump used bullying, but got Europe to do what America's always wanted Europe to do, and basically has coordinated a major international trade war against China and kind of got anybody who could have gotten it out of his way is a success. Now the question is whether he's going to be able to have success in the negotiation with China. And I would say I think he's going to win. We'll see what happens. I think it's important to recognize that China also has to be performative for their own people. They can't just fold right away in the same way Canada can't fold and Europe can't fold. Everybody has to pretend they're fighting. They know they're going to make concessions, but they have to do a little bit of a performance. And I think we're in this phase of the China fight. I don't exactly know what the deal is going to be. I would just be making it up if I predicted what China is going to do. But I feel like this trade war is, to a certain point, it's ripping the Band-Aid off. Has always been necessary. It was inevitable. I mean, every Democratic president since Bill Clinton promised they would do it and then failed to do it, and Trump's the first one to do it. So I think it was inevitable that America went into a trade war with China and kind of equalized this asymmetric trade situation they have with China. And I've mentioned that America has asymmetric trade with Europe, for example, in the last couple of episodes. But honestly, the trade relationship the United States has with Europe is actually fairly healthy for the most part. It's not that bad. They're not robbing America the way that Trump says. I mean, there is issues with Europe, NATO funding and all that other stuff, but the main issue with America, America's industrial capacity has been hollowed out by China. Not because China is a malicious country, it's because American corporate class saw an opportunity to increase their margins, and they support sending jobs to China because it's cheaper to manufacture there. But is China being sincere when they say we're going to go down until the end? No, I think they're going to make a deal. It's just they have to do it in a manner that they could justify it to their people. In terms of stress testing the bond market, yeah, I just think that they knew they were going to stress test it. They probably didn't want rates to go up last night. What made rates go up? It could have been China selling yields. It could have been, there's rumors about a blow up of banks. It could just simply be that a lot of hedge funds and a lot of pension funds are just deleveraging right now. And they're not just deleveraging stocks, they're deleveraging maybe bonds in order to pay for their. So I made that up. I don't know if that's actually the case. I'm just saying the scenarios that are causing bond yields to go up in the short term, it might not play out next week. We'll see what happens. But yeah, obviously Trump doesn't want bond yields to go up. So I mean, it's a part. It's if Trump messed anything up with his abrasive art of the deal style negotiation. It was the bond yield thing, because I think that was ultimately the goal, is for Trump to get bond rate, to get the overnight rate down, but also get bond yields down. I just want to also mention that like a version of this story actually played out in 2018 when Trump started a trade deal with China. At that point too, there was months and months of uncertainty injected into the market, and the end result was the Fed started to lower rates again. So I think that some of this, it's a much more intense version of that, but some of this actually already played out in 2018. So I do believe that like Trump is trying to use his bully pulpit against Jerome Powell, and I think he's going to win. I just don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah, I mean, good points. And actually, we'll talk about a lot of the stuff that you just mentioned a little bit more right now in part two, because, yeah, that is the debate, right? Like whether what Trump is doing, does he have a plan, right? Because as I mentioned in the beginning, before we started the recording of this show, it kind of feels like we're on a plane and the pilot is just deciding to do like, you know, stunt tricks while he's piloting the plane, and nobody knew that he was gonna like do these stunts before we got on the plane. But we're already on the plane and we're like 10,000 feet in the air and he's doing stunts. We can't get off, and we just hope that he doesn't crash the plane, right? So it's kind of what it feels like right now.